Hi, good morning. Welcome to another Knitting Expat tutorial. My name is Mina and I am the Knitting Expat on YouTube and online. Today I'm going to be showing you how to steek a sweater to make a cardigan. Now, I've never actually done this before. I've only steeked a small swatch using the crochet method, which is one I'm going to show today. And you can see that here. This was knit in the round and then I steeked it as a little trial to see how this works. And yeah, and it's turned out pretty good. And no fraying edges, everything seems to be holding on okay. The thing is, like I said, I haven't done this before, so I call this a tutorial because I'm just going to show you step by step what I'm doing, but quite frankly, like I said, this is the first time I'm doing this on a knitted item that's finished. I've looked at a few tutorials online, Tin Can Knits, Isolde T, Kate Davies, they all have really good tutorials. And Hugo has just come to say hi. You can just see his little paws here. Hugo, stop shaking the camera. Okay, Hugo's one of my cats who likes to come take part occasionally. Like I was saying, so I looked at a few different tutorials online and I will link them all below. The main one that I follow and I found to be the clearest was the one by Tin Can Knits. They have really good photo tutorial on their website for steeking, and it's all very clear instructions, and that's what I used mainly, but I did read a few others as well. So like I said, I will link them all below the video on YouTube in the description box for you, and there's like a whole host of information there. Now, steeking traditionally is used in fair isle or stranded colourwork knitting, where it's easier to knit that style of knitting in the round rather than knitting back and forth, because carrying the floats is just much easier to do in stockinette than on the purl back rows. It's easier to do it with plain knitting rather than with purling. But this, as you can see, is not fair isle. This is just a plain stockinette based jumper. The pattern I used for this baby jumper is actually the Flax pattern by Tin Can Knits. I made a couple of modifications. This is the Flax Light, which is the fingering weight version. I omitted the garter stitch panels that go down the sleeves. I just wanted a bit very simple and plain, and I added 5 stitches to, I figured out where the center of the front would be, and I added 5 stitches in plain stockinette all the way down the front here as the steek. And what I did was I purled 1 stitch either side of the 5 stitches all the way down. So if I pull this apart, you can see where the purl ridges run down there, and that's just because it is plain stockinette, so I wouldn't lose where the steek stitches were in the garment. So those are really the only changes that I've made to the pattern. Otherwise I followed it pretty much as written. In terms of numbers, I did make it slightly longer in the body and in the sleeves just so it would last a bit longer, and this is the smallest 0 to 6 month size. Okay, so all you will need for this to steek is if you're doing this method, is a crochet hook, and the Tin Can Knits website suggests using a crochet hook a little bit smaller than the needle size you use for the garment. So I used a 3.75mm needle for the majority of this, and so the only hook that I have that's slightly smaller is this one, which is a 3mm hook. It is nothing fancy. The only other hook I have is a 4mm hook, which is bigger obviously, so I didn't want to use that one, so this will have to do. I will be using some scrap yarn. This is in a contrasting colour. You can do it in the same colour. It doesn't really matter too much because it will be folded under and you won't see it from the front anyway, but I thought this was a nice sort of neutral colour anyway. Even if you did see it, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. And then some sharp scissors to cut the steek when you get to it. The only other thing that I will do, and this is slightly different than what's shown on the Tin Can Knits website, and I saw this on a couple of the other tutorials, is to thread a piece of scrap. Oh, Hugo's back again. Is to Hugo, stop that. That's annoying. Is to thread some scrap yarn down the center of your steek where you'll be cutting, as a guide to just as a guide to help you with that. With actually when you're doing the crocheting, so you don't go off track onto the crocheting the wrong stitches, and I'll show you how that works in a second. So that's just a little bit of an introduction to steeking and what I plan to do. Okay, I may have to close the door and kick this little guy out of the room because he's being very distracting. Come on. Okay, so what we're going to do is, you can see here, I'm going to try to show you. So you've got the purl stitches on either side, and then you got 1, 2, 3, 4. See, I've already lost it there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns of stitches. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be crocheting together one leg from the third column with one leg of the second column and one leg of the third column with one leg of the fourth column on either side. So essentially you're going to be then cutting down the middle of the third stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this scrap yarn on this needle down that third stitch, that center column of stitches, as a guide. So when I go to crochet the stitches to create the reinforced crochet chain, it will be a guide. So I'm just going to start down here, and this doesn't have to be particularly fancy or anything. It's, you know, you're going to take this out afterwards anyway. So it's just a little guide so you know where you are. Just double checking I'm on the right column, because it can be quite distracting and unclear to see, especially if there's no ferrule, because sometimes with the ferrule you have the different colours. So you can see there, when I pull that apart, you can see that guideline of stitch of yarn through the middle there. So yeah, you can see that scrap yarn running down the middle there when you pull it apart as well. The only other thing I forgot to mention is, before you start steeking your garment, you should block it first. You should weave in the ends and block it, and you should weave in your ends away from where your steek stitches are. So if I had an end that was here, I'd be able to weave it in that direction, away from this middle column of steek stitches. Right, okay, so that's done. Take your scrap yarn that you're going to use for the reinforced crochet chain. You just create a slip knot, pop that over your crochet hook, tighten that up a little bit, and then you start crocheting, doing a crochet chain. So you start at the top here, and you start, so this is the middle column, column 3. So I'm going to zoom this in a little bit. So you've got column 3, which is here, and then you want to go to the top of column 4, top of that stitch. Sorry, I'm not very good at crochet, so this is going to look incredibly awkward for me. And then you just pull the loop through. As you can see, I don't hold my the yarn in my left hand like most crocheters would. And so you've got 2 loops on your crochet hook, and then you pull the working yarn through both loops. And there you go. You've got your yarn attached and the first loop on. Just get that tail out of the way. And then what you do from here, hopefully you can see that clearly, is you take, like I said, let me just find the first stitch, there we go. So you take one leg, so the left leg of the 4th column, and the right leg, there we go, right leg of your 3rd column, pull a loop through, put 2 loops, and then you pull another loop through. There we go. Like I said, I'm not very familiar with crochet. I don't do it very often, so it's not the most comfortable thing for me to do, which is why I practiced with the little swatch yesterday. I lost that. There you go, there's another loop on. And you just keep going like that, pulling one leg from either side. Pull it through, pull it through. And do that all the way down the column. Do a few more stitches and then I'll show you how this looks. Okay, so you can see how the chain is formed. Some focus. So you can see how that reinforced chain is just nicely holding onto the stitches there, and this is what it looks like from the top. So you just carry on doing that all the way down the sweater until the bottom. So I'm going to do that now, and then I will check back in with you guys once I have done that, and tell you what I do next. Alright, so I'm back now. I'm almost at the end of the row, of the column of stitches. So I'm just going to do the last few and then show you how I tie it off at the end. Okay, and then what you do, you can see that there, hopefully that's in focus. You go, let me just pull this out a bit so you can see. So you've got the guide thread coming from the third stitch, the middle column. So then you just want to go into the top of the fourth column, which is here, and I've done a Jenny Surprisingly Stretchy bind off, that's why the bind off looks like this. And you do your last chain into the fourth stitch completely, like you did at the beginning, and this will seal off. And you just trim up, cut it off, leaving a bit of a tail, pull it through, and that's the first chain done. So this is what it currently looks like, one chain done. It's a little bit wibbly wobbly in places. I guess my tension isn't completely perfect, which is, like I said, to be expected considering I'm not a crocheter, but it's not bad and it'll do the job, to be honest. And at the end of the day, this isn't going to be visible, it'll be on the inside, and it'll be tacked down on the inside, so you won't even see it anyway. Alright, so I'm just going to repeat the same on the other side, and then I'll be back with you once I've done the second side. And it's done the exact same way, so you're just working on the other side of the central guide. I actually find it easier to turn it upside down and work back in the other direction. Doesn't really make a difference. I don't think it makes a difference, but you can do it either way, whichever way you're comfortable with. And then yeah, once I've done that, I will come back and I will show you what it looks like. Alright, so we're done with the steeks, or like putting in the crochet reinforced chains, which will be the steeks, I guess. And you can see quite clearly there, I'm just going to pull out the guide yarn that I popped in. Don't need that anymore. And you can quite clearly see where that gap is between the two. So, time to cut. And I've left tails on either end so I can weave these in later. Some really sharp scissors, so they'll be perfect for this. So you just start, and you just want to make sure that you're only cutting the bar between, because this is the center bar in the middle of the stitch. So just at the bottom, snip. You just cut all the way down between the steeks, between your crochet chains. So I'm just gonna, it's a little bit hard to do this holding it up to the camera, so hopefully you'll be able to see. Well, I'm just cutting anyway, so just take it slowly, you don't need to rush, it's not going anywhere, and there we go. And there we have it. What was once a sweater or jumper is now a cardigan, and it opens up. You see there's no unraveling, the crochet chain is holding nicely, and yeah, and that's worked out a lot better than I'd hoped, to be honest. And then what I'll do next is I will go in and I will pick up stitches, knit on a button band, and then this will fold over. and I will, once the batten band has been sewn, knit on, I'll fold this over and I will tack this down on the inside, and I'll probably check back in later, hopefully, if I remember to do that, to show you what that looks like. So yeah, that's my first successfully steeked knitted garment. I'm quite happy with that, and definitely something I'll be doing in the future because I really like plain stockinette cardigans. I think they look really beautiful, and there's a lot you can do with them in terms of like adding textures and cables and stuff like that. But and many people aren't huge fans of the pearlback rows. They feel like it takes longer and whatever. So definitely something I think I will be doing more of in the future, not just for baby knits but for adult size garments as well. But doing this on a baby knit or on a small swatch or something is a relatively low risk way of trying out steeking. I definitely recommend trying it out on a swatch first and maybe do it with a heavier weight. The swatch is in a DK weight, and it's definitely easier to see what you're doing with the thicker yarn. I will check back in with you later, hopefully, like I said, if I remember to do so, to show you what this looks like once the button band's been knit on, and how I fold back the edge. Alright, I thought I'd check back in here really quickly with you guys. I've just finished one side of the cardigan, so there's the two sides. So you can see here I picked up stitches and I just knit on a button band, 1 by 1 rib, and then on the back here you can see where I have tacked down the steek, as it were. It's a little bit bumpy lumpy at the moment, but I'm hoping that that will come out with the blocking. And yeah, because this will need to be blocked again once it's done. You see the ribbing sort of like bunching up here, but that will again come out with the blocking. And I don't know if you can see that there, just tacked it down lightly on the inside. It doesn't need anything too too intense, that's the word, to tack that down and hold it in place. So that's one side done. I'm just gonna do the same thing on the other side. So I'll check back again once I've finished. Alright, back now for a final segment, I guess, and we're all done. See, I've added the button bands on both sides, and I've tacked down both sides of the steek. It looks a little bit lumpy bumpy at the moment, but that should hopefully even out with blocking. So yeah, it's a lightweight, quite thin fingering weight sweater for a baby, which should be pretty handy to have around. And yeah, so that's that. It's off for a bit of a soak and a block just to straighten out these edges and even out the lumpiness, and then it's done. There you go. I hope that was useful for you. Like I said, I will have links below to a couple of really useful blog posts that I found handy when researching how to steek and getting prepared for this. So yeah, I hope that was useful, and yeah, so till next time, take care, bye.